What happens when Hollywood royalty meets radio royalty and the gloves come off? What unfolds when a duchess steps into the lion's den, expecting royal treatment, only to get the full Howard Stern experience? You won't believe what happened during last night's explosive episode that had the internet buzzing within minutes. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment, because you won't believe how Meghan Markle's carefully crafted narrative collided head-on with Howard Stern's relentless style. The stage was set for what many expected to be a soft, promotional appearance. Meghan Markle, fresh from her latest media ventures, appeared on the Howard Stern Show to discuss upcoming projects and continue her media rehabilitation tours. But Howard wasn't in the mood to play along with the usual celebrity PR playbook. From the moment Meghan settled into the guest chair, something felt off. Howard's energy was sharper, his questions pointed. Studio 69 crackled with tension that even longtime listeners could sense. Robin Quivers, normally warm and steady, immediately went quiet, her usual friendliness replaced with alert watchfulness. "So, Meghan," Howard began, leaning back with that predatory grin, "let's talk about authenticity. You've built a whole brand around speaking your truth, but I've got to ask something that's been bothering me." He paused, letting the silence hang. "When did authenticity become rewriting history every time you sit down for an interview?" The question hit like lightning. Meghan's trained smile flickered for just a moment before snapping back, but Howard caught it and so did the audience. Even through the radio waves, you could feel the shift in energy. "I'm not sure what you mean by that, Howard," Meghan replied, her voice steady, polished, practiced. "I've always been consistent in sharing my experiences and my truth." "Your truth," Howard repeated, savoring the words. Interesting phrasing, because truth used to just be truth. Now everyone's got their own version. It's like ordering at Starbucks, everyone's got a special blend. The tension in the studio was palpable. Fred Norris, usually invisible behind the soundboard, froze, unsure if he should punctuate the moment with one of his signature stings. This wasn't the usual Stern celebrity roast. This felt personal, targeted, dangerous. Meghan shifted in her chair, adopting the defensive posture royal watchers knew so well. "Howard, I think there's been a misunderstanding about my intentions. I came here to talk about my new projects and the positive work I'm doing." "Oh, the positive work," Howard said, dripping with sarcasm. "Let me ask you about that. Is part of that positive work throwing your family under the bus every chance you get? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've made a career of playing the victim while stepping on everyone who helped you get where you are." The studio fell silent, save for the low hum of equipment. This wasn't following anyone's script. Meghan's handlers, visible through the glass, whispered frantically, debating whether to intervene. "That's not fair, Howard," Meghan said, her tone edged with frustration. "You don't know what I've been through. You don't know the challenges I've faced or the racism I've experienced." "Racism," Howard repeated flatly. "Right? So let me get this straight. You marry into the most privileged family on the planet, have a fairy tale wedding that cost millions, live in palaces, and your takeaway is that you're a victim of racism. Meanwhile, people actually struggling with real racism don't have the luxury of complaining from their Montecito mansion." The gloves were officially off. Meghan's polished media persona began to crack as her voice rose. "You have no idea what it's like to be constantly scrutinized, to have every move dissected and criticized, to have your children's safety threatened." "Your children's safety threatened?" Howard leaned forward, instincts on high alert. "By who? The paparazzi you feed stories to when you want positive coverage? Or the same media machine you've been exploiting for years? Or are we talking about family members you've systematically attacked in interviews?" Robin finally spoke, her voice slicing through the tension. "Howard, maybe we should know." "Robin," Howard cut her off, eyes locked on Meghan. "I think our guest wants to have a real conversation for once," Howard said, eyes gleaming. "Isn't that right, Meghan? Isn't this what authenticity looks like? Or is it only authentic when you can control the narrative?" Meghan's composure was cracking. Her hands, once neatly folded, now gripped the arms of her chair. "You're being incredibly disrespectful, Howard. I came here in good faith to have a conversation, not to be attacked." "Attacked?" Howard laughed, sharp and unamused. "Lady, this isn't an attack. This is what a real interview looks like when someone isn't spoon-feeding softball questions. You want to talk about disrespect? Let's talk about how you've disrespected an entire institution, a family, and a country because things didn't go your way." The studio air thickened with tension. Meghan's team behind the glass gestured frantically, trying to intervene. But she was locked in a verbal battle she wasn't backing down from. Her media training fell away, replaced by raw emotion. "You don't understand the pressures I've been under," Meghan shot back, her voice strained. "The isolation, the lack of support, the way I was treated by the institution and the media. I had to protect myself and my family." "Protect yourself." Howard's voice rose to match hers. "By going on Oprah and throwing everyone who helped you under the bus. By writing books and giving interviews, painting yourself as the innocent victim while everyone else is the villain. That's not protection, that's character assassination with a PR team." The studio crackled with intensity as the two media titans faced off, neither willing to back down. What began as a promotional appearance was now turning into one of the most explosive confrontations in Howard Stern show history. Everyone present knew they were witnessing a moment that would be dissected for years. Howard leaned back, that infamous smirk spreading across his face. The room held its breath. "You know what I find fascinating, Meghan?" he said, deceptively calm, which made it all the more menacing. "You talk about being isolated and unsupported. But let's be honest, you had an entire PR machine working for you. Staff, advisors, the best of everything. Yet somehow, everyone around you was the problem. Everyone except you." Meghan's jaw tightened. "That's a gross oversimplification of what I went through, Howard. Gross oversimplification." Howard shot back, voice rising. "Is that what we're calling it when you can't get along with your when bridesmaids are crying, staff quitting left and right because they can't work with you? At what point do you look in the mirror and say, maybe I'm the common denominator here?" The accusation hung in the studio like a storm cloud. Robin shifted uncomfortably, while Fred Norris remained frozen behind the console. Howard had entered territory even he rarely touched the public dismantling of a guest in real time. "That's not what happened." Meghan's voice trembled, controlled anger, barely holding steady. "Those are tabloid narratives meant to tear me down. I was bullied by the British press from day one, and when I tried to defend myself, I was painted as difficult." Bullied by the British press. Howard laughed, sharp and cutting. "The same press that showered you with positive coverage when you started dating Harry. The same press that celebrated your engagement, your wedding, your pregnancy. They only turned when you started acting like you were bigger than the institution you married into. You don't know what you're talking about. You weren't there." Meghan snapped, her composure finally cracking. "You didn't see how they treated me behind closed doors. The microaggressions, the subtle racism, the way they tried to silence me when I spoke up for what was right." Howard pounced, eyes narrowing. "Microaggressions, subtle racism from the family that welcomed you with open arms, spent millions on your wedding, and gave you a platform bigger than most world leaders." "Come on, Meghan," Howard shot, leaning forward. "You sit here talking about racism while systematically attacking the reputation of an elderly woman who dedicated her entire life to public service." The mention of the Queen hit harder than anything so far. Meghan's face flushed crimson, and her carefully maintained composure evaporated. "Don't you dare lecture me about the Queen," she snapped, voice rising, forcing the audio engineers to scramble. "You have no idea what that family is like behind closed doors." The silence, the complicity, the way they protect their own while throwing everyone else to the wolves. Their own. Howard leaned in, voice sharp. "Last I checked, you married into that family. Harry was their own, too, until you convinced him to burn every bridge he had. You turned a war hero, a beloved prince, into your personal attack dog against his own family. How does it feel, knowing you destroyed a man's relationship with his father, his brother, his entire heritage?" The studio buzzed with tension. Meghan's mask slipped entirely. "Harry made his own choices. I didn't force him. He saw how I was treated and chose to protect his wife and children. That's what real men do. They protect their families. Protect." Howard's voice dripped with disdain. "Is that what you call airing your family's dirty laundry on international television? Making vague accusations of racism, letting the internet destroy innocent people, releasing private conversations and personal details for profit? That's not protection, Meghan, that's revenge." The words landed like a punch. Meghan's hands shook, her makeup unable to mask the flush of anger. Behind the glass, her team waved frantically, pleading for her to stop. But she was locked in, refusing to back down. "You think you know everything, don't you?" Meghan shot, voice trembling with fury. "Sitting there, making jokes, acting like you understand what it's like to be a woman of color, navigating centuries of exclusion and privilege. You have no idea what I sacrificed, what I endured." Howard stood now, towering over the space between them. "Endured," he echoed, sarcasm dripping from every word. "You endured living in palaces. You endured a staff of dozens. You endured wearing million-dollar jewelry and designer clothes. You endured having the world watch your fairy tale wedding. My heart bleeds for you." Robin tried to intervene again. "Howard, maybe we should no breaks." Howard snapped, eyes locked on Meghan. Our guest wanted authenticity, a real conversation. No handlers, no scripts, no safe space, just truth. Meghan rose to her feet, composure shattered. "You want truth? The truth is, you're a bully who gets off on tearing people down. The truth is, you embody everything wrong with media, the cruelty, the lack of empathy, the willingness to destroy people for entertainment." Howard pointed back, unflinching. "And you, Meghan, represent everything wrong with modern celebrity culture: victimhood, entitlement, refusing to take responsibility. You've built a career burning bridges, then claiming persecution when no one wants to work with you anymore." The studio was electric. Both stood now, gladiators facing off across the interview table. Staff froze, unsure whether to intervene. But Meghan wasn't finished. Her eyes blazed as she prepared her verbal coup de grace. "You want to know the real truth, Howard. Her voice dripped venom. You're a has-been shock jock who peaked 20 years ago, attacking women to stay relevant. You're threatened by strong women who don't bow to your pathetic intimidation. Silence fell, the room holding its breath. Even Howard paused, momentarily caught off guard. But the calm before the storm was over. His face darkened into the expression longtime listeners recognized. Deadly. Measured. The calm before the hurricane. Strong women, he said slowly, each word sharp as a blade. Lady, I've interviewed actual strong women. Oprah built an empire from nothing. Barbara Walters shattered ceilings when journalism was a boys' club. Hillary Clinton fought her way to the top of American politics. Howard's voice cut through the studio like a knife. And you married into royalty and spent every waking moment complaining about how hard your life is. That's not strength, Meghan, that's the opposite of strength. Meghan went pale with fury. How dare you compare me to other women, as if we're competing in some misogynistic ranking system. You don't get to define what strength looks like for women, especially women of color, who face challenges you could never understand. Women of color. Howard's voice surged to match hers. You want to talk about women of color? Let's talk about the ones facing real discrimination, real poverty, real struggles. While you sit in your mansion whining that the royal family didn't appreciate your Hollywood background, you've weaponized your mixed-race heritage every time someone dares to criticize your behavior. The accusation hit like a thunderclap. The studio froze. Fred's head popped up from the console, eyes wide. Robin's jaw hung open. Even Meghan's handlers went silent, staring in disbelief. That is disgusting, Meghan spat, trembling with fury. You're disgusting. Sitting there minimizing the racism I've endured. Dismissing my struggles because I had privileges. That's exactly the toxic masculinity and white privilege I've fought against my whole life. White privilege. Howard laughed, but it was a bitter, cutting sound. I'm the son of a radio engineer from Queens who worked his way up from nothing. You grew up in Hollywood, private schools, acting coaches, and married a prince. And somehow, I'm the privileged one. The delusion is astounding. Meghan's hands shook, her makeup streaking, her control completely unraveling. You don't know my childhood. You don't know what it was like growing up biracial in America, trying to make it in Hollywood as a woman of color. Hollywood struggles. Howard pounced. Predator. You mean the struggles that landed you a starring role on a hit TV show? That put you on red carpets, in magazines, in the social circles where you met a prince? Those struggles, because from where I'm sitting, Hollywood worked out pretty damn well for you. Tension reached a fever pitch. Meghan was openly crying, but the tears were rage, not sorrow. Her finger jabbed at Howard. You are everything that is wrong with this world, she screamed. You sit in your privileged position, tearing down women, especially women of color, for entertainment. You're a relic from a toxic era the world is leaving behind. Howard's roar matched hers. And you, Meghan, are everything wrong with modern celebrity culture. You exploit every advantage, every privilege, every opportunity, and then cry victim when people call you out. You've turned victimhood into a brand, and it's pathetic. Pathetic. That word struck like a detonator. Meghan's face twisted in rage. She grabbed her purse, nearly toppling her chair, and stood. I don't have to sit here and listen to abuse from a washed-up radio host who thinks he's still relevant. You're a bully with a microphone, and I'm done giving you the attention you crave. There it is, Howard called, voice steady, almost amused, as she stormed toward the door. The real Meghan Markle. When things don't go your way, when someone asks real questions, when you can't control the narrative, you run, just like you ran from your family, just like you ran from England, just like you run from anything where you can't be the victim. Meghan spun at the door, tears streaking her face, fury blazing. You know what, Howard? History will remember me as someone who stood for what was right, someone who fought against racism and inequality, someone who used her platform to make the world better. The studio went silent, the air crackling, as she exited, leaving a tension so thick it could be cut with a knife. You'll be remembered, Meghan had said, her voice trembling with fury, as a sad old man who got his kicks from humiliating women on the radio. Howard chuckled, sharp and cold. And you'll be remembered as the woman who married a prince and spent the rest of her life complaining about it. The woman who had everything handed to her and still wasn't satisfied. The woman who turned being royal into a professional grievance. With that, Meghan flung open the studio door with a force that made it slam against the wall. Her heels clicked like gunfire as she stormed down the hallway, her team scrambling to keep up. The echo of her departure lingered in the studio, the door swinging shut behind her with a finality that seemed to punctuate every word that had been said. Howard remained standing for a long moment, chest heaving, before slowly sinking back into his chair. The room was silent, the low hum of the equipment the only sound, punctuated by the distant clatter of elevator doors as Meghan and her team disappeared from view. Robin whispered first, still processing. Well, that was something. Howard wiped the sweat from his forehead, still breathing hard. That, he said, voice steady, is exactly what happens when someone used to controlling every interview, every narrative, every conversation meets someone who doesn't play by their rules. Fred Norris. Finally, finding his voice, muttered, "I've been here 30 years. Never seen anything like that." "Bat," Howard nodded. His tone, now calm but resolute, is what authenticity actually looks like, folks. Not the sanitized focus grouped version celebrities try to sell you. Real authenticity is messy, it's uncomfortable, and sometimes, it reveals things people would rather keep buried. As the studio slowly returned to motion staff, moving again, equipment being readjusted, it was clear everyone present had witnessed something unprecedented. What was meant to be a simple promotional interview had erupted into a masterclass in chaos. Hollywood privilege meeting New York bluntness. Meticulously crafted public personas colliding with unfiltered scrutiny, and a guest encountering a truth they couldn't control. Howard leaned forward, eyes into the microphone, voice steady and authoritative. "Ladies and gentlemen, that was Meghan Markle showing us exactly who she is when the cameras are rolling and she can't edit the footage." Sometimes, the most revealing interviews are the ones where the guest reveals more than they ever intended. And with that, one of the most explosive confrontations in talk show history concluded, leaving listeners across the country stunned, buzzing, and certain that this interview would be analyzed, dissected, and replayed for years to come.